There's a bit of a squawk at the start every once in a while.
All right.
The New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast, featuring your hosts, Gabe Reineck and Ken Holyoke.
Archaeology Podcast. I'm Gabe Reineck in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and I'm joined, as I am just about every fortnight, by Ken Holyoke in Lethbridge, Alberta. How are you, Ken?
Very best, Gabe, but the sun is blasting into my office, and so the picture quality might be bleached out at some point as the blazing prairie sun comes into my office. But it's welcome. We've had a bit of a sort of unsettled couple of weeks, actually, since I got back to Alberta.
Oh, yeah?
There's lots of thunderstorms and cloudy and rainy days, actually. So we had an entire day of rain one day, which is a first for me in Lethbridge.
Wow. I confess, Ken, I'm a little bit envious because basically since you left, I've had a heat wave and seasonal allergies. And I'm
excellent.
Reminded of the film. I don't know if you've seen the Spike Lee film, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I could paraphrase Coconut Sid, I don't know about you, man, but it's too hot to podcast. And then Sweet Dick Willie, of course, says, man, are you out of here? And then he uses an expletive mine. It ain't never too hot or too cold for podcasting. Exactly. I had my best piece of podcast on a humid day. So that's what we're doing here, Ken.
Exactly. And for the listener, if you can't see it, Gabe is in Annex C, which is a famously well-cooled building at all times of the year.
Yeah, it's well-cooled in January.
Yes, exactly.
It's sweltering in the summer. Although we're okay. I think I've got the fan system sort of worked out, and we're both in Fun Guy shirts, as the listener can see if they're listening on YouTube.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Ken, we haven't talked to the listener for a little while, and that's because basically the two of us left Canmore, where the Canadian Archaeological Association meeting was, and then you went in the field. I don't really know what I did. I guess I went hiking. I went hiking for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you went to the Highlands, and I went to the lowlands of the New Brunswick lowlands, actually, the Grand Lake Meadows lowlands. Yes. Yeah. And we disappeared for a little while, and we actually met up in the field, which will be a future episode. But
we could foreshadow some episodes that are coming, right? We have Karen Mack is coming to talk about ceramics.
Ceramics, yeah, which is very timely. We found a bunch of pottery in the field, actually, and so maybe I'll have rewatching her episode will actually help me sort through what it is we found.
That seems distinctly possible. And then, of course, we're going to have a live pod covering what you did while you were out here in the field.
That's correct. And by the time that comes out, we may stitch on some live material from you. I don't know. Probably not, eh?
Well, we'll see how long we take to get this one out.
Exactly. So the other thing, too, listener, is that the Emanuel and Cody have also graduated in the interim. And so since we last heard them, we have a BA or an MBA and a BAA. I think that's Bachelor of Audio Applied Arts. Yeah, I think is what Emanuel got. And so congratulations to Emanuel and Cody.
Absolutely.
But also, the challenge with having students graduate is that they also need to get jobs. And so Cody and Emanuel have also been very busy in the off-season since the start of May. But in the promotional stuff for the CA, you'll actually get to see Cody and Emanuel, who, despite their best efforts, encountered a crowd of archaeologists in the Grizzly Paw Pub in downtown Canmore. And Gabe, what was the result of that?
I mean, I think it was basically probably an audiophile style recording. I mean, it was sort of like, not since Odetta has played Carnegie Hall has there been a calming presence like that at any bar.
At any bar, yeah. And especially when you get about 50 or so archaeologists and conference attendees, a couple of drinks in a small room with a PA system that apparently is built for a poetry reading, I think, would be probably a better.
And the part I was really impressed by was when some of the archaeologists just went full Alberta and started firing guns into the ceiling.
Yes. Yeah,
to celebrate the upcoming PEI.
Yeah, that was the celebration. Yes. Yeah. No, but it was an incredibly well-attended event. We had our producers in house. It was actually, I mean, I'm really excited to kind of share pictures from the day because it felt pretty real. And great hat. Yeah. Yeah. Gabe got a Stampede hat, but it came to Alberta with his hat box and his 10-gallon ready to go.
Mm-hmm. I was all hats, no cattle.
All hats, no cattle. That's right. Although I think we both had bison burgers for dinner, didn't we? At 10 p.m.
Ken, I was somewhat delirious at that point. I don't really remember. I know we had steak tartare for lunch, which was great.
Yeah, that was great. That was an excellent meal. So
that was good.
Do you remember the name of that place?
No, but we mentioned it, I think, in the podcast, don't we?
We might have. Yeah. So
I could find it.
Yeah, we could do a little bit of sleuthing here in the background.
Yeah, and but Ken, just while you're doing a little sleuthing here, what did you have a good CAA meeting?
Yeah, I had a great CAA meeting. I did what you're not supposed to do. I overcommitted, and it was a creeping overcommit because originally I was going to do one paper and the podcast, and then I was like, well, my grad students should probably present, and one of the projects I'm quite involved with, so. I had a poster with Jade was the lead. Excellent poster. And when I say she was the lead, Jade did 95% of the work, and did this amazing graphic layout. But then I got invited to a session, which when you're invited to present a paper, you generally accept. And then
what do you mean? You generally accept if you're still up for tenure?
Yes, exactly.
I sometimes smile and say, "I'm sorry, I'm already overcommitted."
Yeah. So I didn't do that. And then finally, because I cherish my dear colleagues, Kevin and Shawn, and because we had already compelled them to come on to the live podcast, Kevin, in turn, needed to fill out the lineup of the lightning round on the Friday night. And so I ended up doing a lightning round talk as well.
The great thing about lightning round talks is they're short. Ken.
Yes, they are short. And that was good. And the other thing that was kind of nice was that the CAA schedule can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but they were kind enough to actually have me scheduled. I had no duplicates, so I had something every day, but which means I didn't really kind of get that one evening where I could just sort of like relax and hang out. But and gracefully, the CAA has maintained the no papers on Sunday rule.
Oh, that's funny. I actually didn't. Now that you mention it, I did notice that as I was driving to the airport at dawn.
Yeah. Not dawn.
Pre-dawn. Yes.
Pre-dawn. Yeah. You and Matt, right? Took the 4 a.m. Rental to the out of the mountains.
4 a.m. departure to get to the airport. Fortunately, to add to it, we also slightly, I don't know if we put in the no tolls requirement or something on the Siri, but we took a somewhat back route as well.
Oh,
it was quite exciting.
How?
I'm not sure. We just did not hit the highway for, 40 kilometers.
Huh.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, very hard to do, Gabe.
Well, Matt was navigating.
There's only one highway.
Yeah, well, we didn't get to it. I mean, that's the thing. We only missed one highway. Have you had any luck finding the restaurant where we got steak tartare, Ken?
Oh, hold on. Let me just a second.
It's right near the place where we did our podcast.
Yes, you're correct. Hold on. I have it in my head. It was something about cowboys.
Where the buffalo roam, Ken, I believe.
Where the buffalo? Yes, exactly. It was where the buffalo roam.
Great.
None of the restaurants are showing up on Google Maps right now.
And I think the other thing we want to thank is the lovely folks at the Grizzly Paw Pub, right? Ken, we really can't thank them enough. They gave us basically what seemed to me to be sort of a wedding quality venue with a beautiful view of the mountains.
Yeah, incredible.
And the price was right.
The price was right. They graciously provided the venue for us. Essentially, are people coming to eat and drink? And we said yes. And they were like, well, we got a room upstairs. It'd be great. Brought a lot of equipment in. They let us in early, so we got in quite early at like around 5:30. And fantastic staff. I don't have the staff list in front of me right now, but we throw out some shout outs on the podcast, and maybe we'll re-listen and we can tack it on our next episode to give another shout out to everybody. It was really, really exceptional quality of service, and just a fantastic venue. So if you're ever in Canmore, something I would highly, highly recommend is going to the Grizzly Paw Pub. Excellent food, and there's not, this time of year you've got a beautiful patio there, and there's nothing better than sipping beer with the three sisters in the background.
It's true. I mean, in fact, you could do a Grizzly Paw pub crawl. You could go to all of the Grizzly Paws in Canmore.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm just actually looking back at our emails here. Ross Hansen, the manager, thank you. And to Bree, Chloe, Jack, and everybody else that was on staff that night. You guys were fantastic. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Yeah, well beyond the Call of Duty on helping us get set up, helping make sure everyone was well fed and had plenty of beer.
Yep.
And also helped us shut down at the end of the night, which we appreciate. Yeah. And we want to send out a thanks to everybody who was there. That was tons of fun.
Yep. More people showed up than we expected. As I said, we got a PA system. I got the smaller speakers because I assumed it was a small room. The sound would carry well. Emanuel, I think his assessment afterwards was that we needed at least 4 more speakers for everybody to hear what we were doing. But it was really cool to see the setup, right? Like, yes. It felt much more professional than what we did in Fredericton a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And also some lessons for PEI for next year.
Exactly. And plus, I mean, really, it doesn't matter because the interpretive dance segments were still perfectly clear to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's where the cowboy hat came in, listener.
And the listener may actually catch our excellent prize reads that I don't think anybody even cared to listen to. We were not the highlight of the show that evening. That the guest interviews were definitely well listened to, but our filler, other than our prizes, which somehow was weighted heavily towards the University of Lethbridge crowd.
It was, yeah. I was a little concerned if maybe some of the entries there had been weighted. There was some concern in the crowd there.
Yeah, so we had some impartial draws done that still resulted in colleagues and former students winning all of the prizes.
And I think the other thing, Ken, just before we hand it over to Emanuel and Cody to make us sound better than we deserve over at the Grizzly Paw, we wanted to also say we raised a little money for the CAA Scholarship Fund.
That's right. And so we want to thank everybody who donated to that, and in particular Carla Parslow for a really generous donation, and just hope that money goes to good use. And for anybody who is listening who might be eligible for those scholarships, there's a lot of money available, and I think the CAA is really excited to see that get allocated for students, Indigenous community members who are going to be attending university and doing archaeology here in Canada.
Exactly. And as a small token of our involvement, we'll look forward to getting matching NB ArcPod tattoos with any student that takes advantage of those funds to go to PEI next year. So
Exactly.
We're looking forward to that.
Exactly.
All right, Ken, should we travel back in time and across the prairie?
I think we should. And listener, remember, this was a live recording. I think we have coaxed Emanuel and Cody to the point where they are willing to launch this episode. Yes. Much to Emanuel's chagrin. Sorry, Emanuel. I know the audio is not up to your standards, but thank you again for parsing through and making some of this audible.
Yes. Think of this, listener. Everything you can hear is due exclusively to their talent and has nothing to do with our abilities or making this easy for them.
Exactly. And so maybe adjust your volume down just in case there's a bit of a squawk at the start every once in a while.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, listener. No usual project at the front, no hit pieces at the end, but we'll return with that normal programming once we're back with Karen Mack.
And we will, and we've got some big game hunters to talk about, Gabe.
We sure do.
Talk to you soon, listener.
See you, listener.
Archaeology podcast featuring your hosts, Gabe and Ken.
Welcome back to the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast. I'm Gabe and I'm joined as I am just about every fortnight by Ken Holyoke, and we are live at the Grizzly Paw Pub in Canmore, Alberta, on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral homeland of the Stoney Nakoda nations of Fairport, Chiniki, Goodstoney, whose name for Canmore translates to shooting at the willows, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, Blackfoot, Nistapi nations of Siksika, Piikani Ghana, and Battle River territory of Métis Region 3 for the combined Canadian Archaeological Association and the Archaeological Society of Alberta meeting. Yeah. All right. So you guys have gotten the message already. Now, before we get going, this is a live podcast. We are recording, and we would love to hear you in that recording, okay? So you don't need to be silent. And to those of you who skipped the Franklin talk to come tonight, we hope it's not just missing a talk about sunken ships to actively watch a ship sink. We're not just on the rocks, we're on the Rockies tonight. Yeah. So don't be shy about speaking up. You can clap, you can cheer, you can hopefully not jeer. But if you feel it necessary, you're more than welcome to. We might throw one of these chocolate projectile points at you, though, so that's we got a whole bunch of those to give away. Before we get going, if you haven't filled out a cue card to enter into the draw, we've got a bunch of swag to give away tonight, so make sure you do that. The other thing is there are QR codes spread around the room that say donate to the CAA Scholarship Fund. If you do that, let us know, give us a wave, and you'll get one of these beautiful limited edition New Brunswick Archaeology podcast aprons. You can't spell New Brunswick Archaeology podcast without Grill. And that's while supplies last, everybody. That's while supplies last. So we want to extend a huge thanks to the Grizzly Paw Pub, to manager Ross Hansen, to all the staff here tonight. So Bree, Jack, Chloe, Liz, Natalia, everybody else who's in the room here, for allowing us to use this space. We also want to congratulate them on their 30th anniversary to Niall Fraser and the staff. So a round of applause for Grizzly Paw. And we'd also like to thank our excellent producers, Emanuel and Cody, who will make us sound better than we deserve, and you'll see them floating around the room. And we have Emanuel to thank for the soundtrack tonight as well. And for anyone that needs audio engineering, video production, or social media work, they're looking for work. So, so seek them out. And so, Ken, there was a news item recently that sparked some controversy. Yes, we talked about it on the podcast. So we're here on essentially kind of on the cusp of the ice-free corridor. We're all talking about, there's a big session tomorrow, I think, about the peopling of the Americas and some ice-free corridor research. And so for those of you who have been following it, Monte Verde has come into question, right? So we got lots of archaeologists in the room. So we thought we'd do an informal poll here before we get going. Which camp are you in? So where are we falling on these things, Gabe?
Monte Verde, down.
Well, we should ask them. Well, as you know, Ken, I've been on a journey as a born-again Clovis firster. Yes, yeah. So, we're out here. We've got the Wally's Beach site just south of Lethbridge, which is, a certified pre-Clovis site, old enough to be that. So for those of you in the room who have followed this debate, or even if you haven't, yeah. What's your thoughts? Is Monte Verde still legitimate? Is it pre-Clovis? Is it 14,000 years old? Let's get a cheer for that.
Yeah!
Okay, all right. And what about a cheer for if it isn't? Oh, I think the blue ribbon panel has spoken once again, Gabe. Apparently nobody understands how a volcanic tuff works in this room. That's fine. And so, Ken, what are you drinking today? I've got the blonde, and I don't have the name right in front of me. What is it called? Well, while you look that up, I'm drinking the Evolution IPA, I think? Yep, Powder Hound Blonde Ale. Yeah. And as many of you may know, referenda are kind of in the air right now. And so as the night progresses, we're going to have a referendum on everyone's favorite beer here at the Grizzly Paw. So as you're drinking that beer, think about and be prepared for that referendum later in the show. Yeah, and so Gabe, you're taking in, this is your first visit to the Prairie's You've been to Edmonton, but you haven't experienced the mountains. Is that right?
Did the hat make you think that?
So you kind of preempted something, and I got a gift for you actually to welcome you to Prairie. So a rite of passage on the prairies is to attend the Calgary Stampede. So I've got Gabe an authentic Stampede cowboy hat here with the lead ribbon and everything. Yes. And so Gabe, any highlights so far of your visit to the plains?
Well, my lips are always chapped and my nose feels like it's going to bleed most of the time, and I have this weird elevation headache. Is that what you meant?
I think that's pretty on par. Yeah. So, any highlights, drinks, food so far?
So the listener may not know this, but the trick after a long flight is to immediately find a hotel bar that serves a Caesar salad and more than one, but fewer than 4 Manhattans.
Yep.
And so I did a hard reset that way in Calgary. But then there's a restaurant right over here where I had a black Manhattan and steak tartare.
Yep.
Because I thought in Alberta, I wanted the steak to still have a pulse. I thought that would just be a more intimate experience.
Very good. Yeah.
How about you, Ken?
I had pretty good lunch at the hotel today.
Okay.
I had some hummus at the Grizzly Paw, the other Grizzly Paw, which if the room isn't full, there might be a whole other group of people waiting for the podcast to start at the Grizzly Paw across from the hotel.
We're simulcasting, though, I think, aren't we, Cody?
Yeah,
we are.
Yeah,
right. Okay, good. They can see it, too.
So we're international.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ken, how many conferences have we gone to together, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, quite a few.
Yeah.
Probably the first was a CAA back in Halifax.
Yes, where we ended up on a floor in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, wondering how we got there.
Yeah. And a couple broken men on a Halifax pier.
Absolutely.
I think that was. So other than microphones, this isn't much different than how we do conferences.
Pretty much how we've always done conferences.
A couple
We're
guys.
quieter because we have the microphone.
Yeah, we're yelling at a bar.
Yes.
So you guys can just hear us a little bit better.
Speak for yourself.
It's the same. So we're going to be joined today to help us in this quest by a couple of very special guests to discuss, among other things, the Canadian Archaeological Association, the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology at University of Alberta, and a very famous site here, UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. And we're also going to have a special reveal of where the CAA is going to be hosted next year by...
Although I know the Revelator's not here yet.
Yeah, he'll be here, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
You can send him a text message.
Okay.
At the internet.
Yeah.
And just some kind of housekeeping stuff. We're gonna have draws throughout the night. We will have an intermission at some point. So, but feel free to refresh your drinks, grab some food, and cheer, holler, and if you have a question at any point, put up your hand and we may walk you out a microphone. But if you're looking a little suspicious, we might not.
So Ken, what's the strangest place you've ever recorded this podcast in?
Probably, we've got a spot that's become a bit of a running joke that I'm kind of hoping you brought microphone gear for, and that is the Chili's in the Calgary Airport. And there used to be 3 Chili's in the Calgary Airport, and so it was always trying to figure out which one I should sit at, but they've gone down to 1, and so, but I have found that it is, the back corner is a really great spot to record a podcast.
I'm pretty excited for an early morning popping boba marg on my way out of town.
Yeah, you got an early flight on Sunday.
I do, yes.
Dangerously early.
Dangerously early. But so as you all can see, because you're here, we've been trying to grow this podcast beyond the nearly 30,000 listens, a Canadian Archaeology Association Public Communication Prize, and, believe it or not, an invitation to the East Coast Music Awards. And so we think we might need a name that better captures the expanding breadth of our mission here. Because, Ken, it's really about the mission, isn't it?
It is about the mission, yeah.
And, Ken, we do have the best listeners in archaeological podcasting, I'm fairly confident in saying. And that's why we're turning to you all for help in renaming this very podcast. But before we do that, there's just one thing I want to get out of the way, Ken. How many of you in the crowd are first-time listeners to the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast? Okay.
Volume, come on. How many? Woos.
Yeah! There we go. Yeah. That's how excited they are that this is the first and last time they listen to the New Brunswick Archaeology.
These are like all the people that listen to the first ever episode and then just shut it off. We have statistics that show a massive drop-off after that first episode, so we really just have to pull it from the internet. So how many of you are frequent listeners to the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast? Okay, all right. And how many of you are Canmorites that just kind of stumbled in here and there's a bunch of people yelling?
Ken, how many of you listen but you have your VPN set to Singapore? We still don't know who that is.
We still don't know who that is. We have a frequent listener in Singapore, so if you're here, speak up, please.
But so you may not all know this about the podcast, but if we were to get a new name from you, we don't actually think about our listeners as family, because family, of course, as Marcel Mauss explained, are people you can just steal things from. No listener, audience, we think of our listeners as at-will employees of a highly personalized business, something those of you in CRM might find quite relatable. And accordingly, we would never just steal a name that you provided for this podcast. We would make sure that you were adequately compensated for that exchange of IP. And we would do that with the following prize. I know, Ken, I'm not actually familiar with IP law in the sovereign nation of Alberta, but
I think it's getting hammered out right now.
So, Ken, am I right that you've written part of a paper that you might someday submit to the Journal of Archaeological Science?
That's right, yeah.
Ken, am I right that you are a licensed nuclear technician?
Expired license, yes, but I once had the license, yes.
Okay. Ken, am I right that you briefly had a GPA somewhat larger than 0 in the science faculty at the University of New Brunswick?
That is also true, yeah. That's why I'm an archaeologist, actually.
And Ken, are you familiar with the teachings of Sir Isaac Newton?
Vaguely.
Okay. So we're talking acceleration of something like 32 feet per second squared from the top to the bottom of head smashed in buffalo jump, right?
I think that's pretty close.
Okay. And to calculate that, we're going to assume, as with all physics, that most variables equal 0. Okay. But the good news, Ken, is that the physicists over at iFly Indoor Skydiving in Calgary don't. They use numbers with decimal points, superscripts, units, all that stuff. And that's why we here at the New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast have partnered with them for the Head Smashed In Buffalo Experience. And Ken, the way this works is that while wind tunnels are increasingly obsolete for testing cars and aircraft, they do still have a use. When placed vertically, gigantic fans at the top of the column can suspend a person, even if in a buffalo costume, and give them the feeling of a free fall without all that pesky jumping out of planes. It's got a lower carbon footprint, too.
I mean, that's important, right?
Yeah. And actually, Ken, this could be an interesting study for all those pesky tumbleweeds in Lethbridge, Alberta that keep, killing children.
Yeah, if they can't get the fencing back up next year, my children will sustain more tumbleweed-related injuries.
Yeah. And Ken, let's talk for a minute about the buffalo outfit we would put the lucky listener who renames this podcast in. We're partnering with the official furrier of the New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast. And Ken, actually, a downside of the live show is that these folks can look at us and say, furrier than those two? Anyway, Benzing Charlevoix Furs has been providing the greater Calgary area with furs since 1938. Whether you need Russian sables, minks, chinchillas, fox, sheared beaver knits, cashmeres, or, as we do in this case, a tailor-made buffalo suit. And Ken, when we were talking about this at the bar last night, we thought this might be one area where we could break slightly with the authenticity of the experience. And that's because, while looking like a buffalo is pretty cool, it might not come up very often in this lucky listener's life. Not only that, but it gets cold here in Canmore. In fact, Ken, did you know that in January 1950, the mercury dropped like a buffalo from the sky to minus 51.2 degrees Celsius?
Oh, wow.
That's 221.95 degrees Kelvin. No, it's a 3-piece buffalo skin power suit. And obviously the lucky listener will need to work with the Charlevoix to get the measurements to their personal preferences. But Ken, looking at the audience.
Okay, I'm looking at.
Have you ever seen a more sartorially splendid group of people?
I'm not sure we have.
No, yeah. They really put the C or even the B- in chic, which is awfully good for archaeologists. And of course, Ken, the boots. Is it safe to indoor skydive in heels? Probably not, but it can't be more dangerous than busting broncs, joining a posse, shooting and drinking at the Lady Luck Lounge, being a journalist who asked Danielle Smith about corrupt care, being the rattlesnake remover at ULEF, or any of the other things that folks do in cowboy boots. And we're going to set the listener up with some buttes. That's right, Ken. These are jet black Alberta calfskin with ostrich inlay, replete with pointed toes so you don't get caught in the stirrups or mistaken for somebody straight off a dude ranch outside of Red Deer. And then, Ken, the lucky listener won't just look fly, they will fly. That's right, listener. We're going to put the phenom and phenomenology, the smash and smashed in, the intense and intensification. And just like that, Ken, it'll be over. We had planned to include communal butchery using some VR, but our producer thought it would seem a little too much like the movie Saw, at least for the lucky listener. So instead, we'll be sending the listener back to Calgary for a bite at the Vintage Chop House and Tavern, for an appetizer steak tartare, followed by a Brent Lake Wagyu ribeye, and for dessert, it's a half pint of Alberta Premium, served neat or on ice, sourced directly from the Athabascan Glacier. Ken, where would the lucky listener with the winning new name for this, yes, this very podcast send it?
Well, they would send that to newbrunswickarchaeology@gmail.com. That's New Brunswick Archaeology, all one word, archaeology spelled ARCHAEOLOGY, newbrunswickarchaeology@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at new_Brunswick_archaeology, or because we're live, you could just put up your hand and give us a suggestion for what you think the new name for this podcast should be.
That's right. We'll be taking suggestions all through the night, so keep those in mind. But because it's a very special night here in Canmore, we have a first prize draw, Ken.
I think we do, yeah. So should I go get the bucket?
Yes, go grab the bucket. And if anyone hasn't put their name in the bucket yet for the prize draw, catch it for the next one. And what are we starting with, Ken?
Let's do from left to right. So we've got an atlatl sweatshirt.
Okay, we are starting with an atlatl sweatshirt.
And a polo and
a University of Lethbridge bag and a buff.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to reach it. We should shake this up a little.
Shake it up.
All right, we're shaking it up.
All right. I got one.
Ken's got one. All right, Ken, and who is going to win the atlatl
Shawn
sweatshirt?
Bubel. There is a benefit to sitting at the front.
Congratulations, Shawn.
Do you like my stars?
I do, yes.
And this is Mars.
Okay, excellent.
Terrific, thank you. And so before we get going here any further, we've got a ton of very generously donated prizes, and we'd like to thank the Archaeological Society of Alberta, the CAA, the University of Lethbridge, Circle CRM, and Stantec Consulting for these amazing prizes.
Yes, and atlatl archaeology, and I think that was it.
We think that's it, but if we left anyone out, we apologize, and we will add you in
Circle
later.
CRM.
We had that one.
We had that one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
And Ken, you're about to make a very Canadiana remark here.
Yeah, so for the next prize, I'm just curious. I don't think there's any Canmorites in the room, but are there any mics here from Canmore?
No mics from Canmore.
No mics from Canmore. Okay, all right. Next question might favor one part of the audience and entirely self-serving. Gabe, I doubt you know the answer to this, but in the spirit of the NHL playoffs, which team not in the playoffs just drew the first overall pick in Tuesday's draft lottery?
I don't follow High Alive, but the audience might know.
The audience might know. Kevin at the front, who knows? We got somebody in the front.
Yeah,
You can say it.
It's your team, baby.
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, and now without further ado, we're going to welcome TJ Hammer and Katie Cottreau-Robins to tell us a bit about the CAA.
Yeah.
And as TJ and Katie are coming up, Ken, I would just like to draw your attention to, again, an opportunity for some limited edition New Brunswick Archaeology Podcast swag on a first-come, first-served basis. All right. Excellent. Well, there goes one. If you've donated to the CAA Scholarship Fund, we are happy to get you one of these while supplies last. All right. And what's the most Albertan thing you could cook while wearing that?
Probably an excellent steak, like a fresh cut steak.
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
That's
Okay. All right. So we are happy to welcome our guest. Katie Cottreau-Robins is the Curator of Archaeology at the Nova Scotia Museum and is the outgoing President of the CAA. And TJ Hammer, the Director of Archaeology, Collections and Curation at Parks Canada and the incoming President of the CAA.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Maybe tilt your. How's the audio on this, Emanuel? Yeah. All right. Want to do a sound check there just to see?
Check.
And is the audience able to hear fairly clearly?
Hello. Good?
From
I'm
there,
good.
TJ? There's no 4. Okay, so you guys are sharing one mic.
That's not how the CAA works, I don't think.
You're locked in now.
Yeah.
So Katie, could you tell us about some of the initiatives that the CAA has undertaken over the last few years?
Sure. It's when you become president, it's kind of a 4-year thing, right? So you do president-elect, and then 2 years as president.
Yeah.
And then you hang around for another year as past president to support the incoming president. And it's busy. It's busy, right? So the 2 years as president, there's a lot of kind of internal board business that has to happen on a regular basis that we take care of. But our work approach is to engage with the membership, work on behalf of the membership, and raise the profile of archaeology in Canada and try and get other people to think about taking that path as a career. So within that framework, a lot's been done. We've done several letters in support of issues that have come up. We've linked with the CCRA, which is really important.
Really great session this morning, well attended.
Yes, I went to part of that. It was very good. You guys had a huge.
It was a big crowd in there this morning. Yeah.
It was good. We've also looked at things like redoing job descriptions for people on the board because they have gotten complex in some ways. We've become members of the National Trust. So we're in another set of conversations about heritage preservation, which is really good. What else have we done, TJ? New website. I hope people have looked at the new website.
Has everybody checked out the new website? It works on your phone.
And we've really tried to listen to messages, emails, discussions from the membership about things they want to see changed, and the website was part of that.
Okay, great.
There's been a lot of work on the journal. Maybe we'll talk about that later. And conferences. Let me just say, when I first came on, the first challenge for me was to try and find someone to host a conference.
Yeah.
And we made the decision that we weren't going to host in when was it? Newfoundland last year, right? And then Lisa Rankin came in at the last moment and saved us. And so we did a large piece surveying the membership on their thoughts about the conference and how it has to change. And that was really helpful. I mean, I don't know, there's been a lot of really good discussion. When you're president, I've had a highly functioning board.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in being president, but you are very aware that you're at the top and you have responsibilities around over 700 members of a long-standing organization. My first CAA meeting was in 1983 in Halifax as an undergrad, and I was like, whoa, I want to be a part of this, right? So I was very honored to be asked to be president, and thanks for the shout out at Halifax. That conference in 2011.
Yeah.
I chaired that, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, we work a lot. We work on what's coming up. And now, of course, with the Archaeology Matters piece, that is really significant. So far at the conference, I've heard it referenced in talks. I've had people talking about it. People want to explore how we can come together better on addressing what I shared with you is a philosophical shift.
Yeah, I had a conversation at lunch today even about that.
So I'm really happy about that piece, you know. And I think I don't do anything alone. I don't do anything in isolation. And I have to thank everyone who has been supportive of me as president. And I'm really excited about TJ.
Yeah. So
coming on.
So TJ, what are your goals as the incoming CAA president?
Well, I guess I'll start and I'll just rip off a bit of your examples there. And, okay. First off, on the Franklin thing, I don't want to sink the ship. Second, on head smashed in, I definitely don't want to I don't want to take it off the plane.
Yeah.
So, no, all kidding aside, it's a 2-year term, so, you're really ambitious. I'm ambitious. I'm really, like Katie said, as well as with a really functional board. So a few priorities, having talked, listened for last year's president-elect, I would say, continuing to build on the positive progress with respect to the journal, to catch it up. As everybody knows, it's the fundamental cornerstone of the association, and part really heavy on it to get archaeological knowledge out. About Canadian archaeology. Second, I would say, is really enhancing the relevancy, and I think that's more important as we move along. I think the CAA just released the statement, Archaeology Matters.
Yep.
And, there's a number of organizations, I think, that we need to go in where we have a singleness of purpose here. And that's really the promotion and the conservation of archaeological resources, but the larger community, that's with cultural resources writ large. And this could include, through Katie's leadership, signing of the Halifax Declaration, partnership with the National Trust on the National Council. But let's begin to look at relationships with the Canadian Museum Association, Canadian Conservation Association, the CCRA as well, moving forward. But not even, the National Indigenous organizations, and the one that comes to mind is the Indigenous Heritage Circle as well. So I think that's a really key piece, and I think a focus. And Katie has started it, the board has started it, so to continue on with that as well.
It's fantastic.
I'd say lastly is that relevancy as well as those partnerships are really key. And again, just internal to the organization, to begin to have a look at the Constitution, as well as have a look at potentially the strategic plan, which ended in 2013, I believe. Just to have a look at that analysis and see, what needs to be updated through Katie's leadership. We have revised the directors' job descriptions, if you will, which are in the Constitution. So there's some work that way as well. And then really being sensitive to members' needs as well. And I think really getting feedback from Archaeology Matters, that statement that was put out is, I think, a really important thing.
Yeah, so great, terrific. And so we've seen heritage and archaeology programs and funding cuts at both the federal and provincial territorial levels in the last year or so. What sort of maybe at the CAA, what can we do to bring attention to these issues, and what role does or can the CAA play in coordinating those efforts? And you're both welcome to answer this too, so.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
You talk really fast there, Gabe. I'm 63, so you just have to slow it down a little bit.
I also have a high lispy New England accent, which doesn't help.
I haven't had beer yet. I'm waiting. I've been having water and some great lemon fizz that they have here. Thank you.
But we've seen heritage and archaeology programs and funding cuts at both the federal and the provincial and territorial levels in the last year or so.
Right.
What can we do to bring attention to these issues, and what role does or can the CAA play in coordinating those efforts? I know you just had a statement out.
Thank you for repeating that. I appreciate that. In my mind, I'm kind of past the letter writing stage.
Yep.
We've done a lot of letter writing to politicians, to folks in certain positions of power that we hope can help us, asking for dialogue, asking to listen to us, and that's important. Okay, but we're not hearing back, so we've got to do more. And I think what we need to do is have conversations. We need to organize our thoughts around that, and we need more input from the membership to, I don't know if we want to have a gathering, I don't know what will happen after that information gathering, but we need the membership to participate in a dialogue that is directly linked to their work and their livelihood and their research and their passion.
Yeah, with 700 people, we could do something.
Exactly,
right?
Like the power is there, people, but we need to come together and we need to hear from the membership. There's some folks we hear from all the time.
Right.
But I think we need to figure out a way to hear from a wider group and intensely.
Yeah.
So.
Are you listening, listeners?
This is important. This is what we do. This is what we've dedicated our lives to. We care about this. We're really nervous about these cuts.
Yeah.
Because these are government bodies and traditional institutions that have always funded us.
Yeah.
And to lose that funding is a statement that perhaps this isn't very important to support anymore, and that if we know that's wrong, and it's not good for us.
Yeah.
And it's not good for the public good.
That's right.
Right?
I might add, though, if I could, I think as well, you know, the membership is key, absolutely. One of the things, though, I think, is the idea of relevancy, right? Is getting in, and I mean, getting the public archaeology out, showing the public, the citizenry, that archaeology. I think it's a wonderful program. And hats off to Joanne and Brian, the organizers and the organizing committee, because I mean, it's a really exciting conference. I'd just say, maybe give them a clap.
Yeah.
I did my paper this afternoon, so that's done, and I was.
So it's easy breezy now.
I did the. I was in the hidden histories.
Yep.
And it was really. My PhD specialty is slavery in Nova Scotia after the American Revolutions, and I really worked to support the development of Black archaeology presence at the CAA. And I was reflecting on that today. Like I mentioned, in 1983, my first CAA, and it was in Halifax, there was no historical archaeology, what they called historical archaeology. It was practically taboo. And at that time, I questioned, how can we call ourselves a national organization when we're not sharing all the stories?
Right.
And how that has morphed over the years. And even in 2012, there was maybe one black paper, and CAA didn't know where to put it at the conference. Today, we had almost a full day session, paper after paper, and then there's another session tomorrow. So I'm really happy to see that evolution of this organization, how we've become more inclusive and widened our mandate in terms of archaeology. Yeah, that excites me, right?
Yeah, totally.
Make room. There's so much room in our discipline for folks with all kinds of interests, backgrounds, and skills. And why not come join the CAA and come together at our conference every year and share and learn all that fantastic information?
I think that's a perfect place to leave it.
I think so.
And
Thank you, President. Yeah, but I think before we let you go, we've got one more prize draw before our intermission. Can we get you to do it, Eddie? And even if you draw yourself, we'll probably still give you the prize.
I want a prize. I love prizes. I got a prize at your session dedicated to David Black.
Oh, excellent. That's right. That's good.
I got a UNB hat for my grandson. Jeremy Cunningham.
Jeremy Cunningham. Okay. And what is Jay winning, Ken?
What is Jay winning? Jay is winning. We've got
It's Jay in the house. Okay.
Two Lethbridge winners in a row?
Yeah, well, they might be using weighted index cards.
We've got
No pronghorns.
a Stantec toque. Jay, these University of Lethbridge ones will come in handy.
Yeah.
And an ASA shoulder bag.
Hooray!
Hold on.
And it's a chocolate projectile point to top it off.
That's a nice
All right.
prize.
All right, we're going to take a 15-minute intermission. We'll be back.
Yeah, everybody say big applause for TJ and Katie. Thank you so much, guys.
Back to the Rhetoric Archaeology Podcast. And before we get started, my fairly loud colleague, Ken Holyoke, has an announcement he's going to make.
Okay, at the back of the room, can you hear us now? Thumbs up. What about the very back? Sarah, can you hear us? Okay. We love the noise, we love the conversation, but at the back, we might have to keep it around this level. So, sorry.
But think of it as a way to lean in close and talk to someone you really like. And if you don't know that person, don't do that. Exactly. I'm not even sure there's a sticker for the name tag that will allow that. So stay clear of that. And we've got a very special guest coming up, so we appreciate your cooperation in this podcast, in which we are all now partners.
Yeah. It's like we're a big community here in the upper floor of the Grizzly Paw Pub.
Yes, you may not be wearing the green sticker, but you are wearing the podcast sticker.
Exactly. And if you don't have a podcast sticker, we have a lot of them up here. We also have podcast coasters, and come get all of the swag. And if you are not an Alberta archaeologist and you're not associated with the ASA, you probably don't know about these amazing chocolate projectile points that we have a ton of. And so put your hands up, and at the next intermission we will be walking around the room to distribute some delicious, I mean, I would fling them around the room, but there might be some
collateral damage.
Yeah. We don't have liability insurance, and they gave this place for free, so we don't want to push our luck here.
And part of the reason we've asked people to keep it to adult rumor is we have a very special guest coming up.
We do have a very special guest coming up. So do we want to introduce our next guest?
I think that's what we do now.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. We would like to welcome our next guest, Kisha Supernant.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us, Kisha. Kisha's the director of the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology and a professor in the Department of Anthropology at the University of Alberta, and also a first-time guest on the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
We're really happy to have you. And so we thought we'd start off by asking all of our guests that run something, we asked them what that is. What is the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology, and what does it do, or what do you make it do?
Great question. I'm happy to let you know. So the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology is an Indigenous-led institute at the University of Alberta in Amiskwaciwâskahikan, Edmonton, Treaty 6 territory in the Métis homeland. And our mission really is to conduct community-engaged, community-led Indigenous research across Western Canada and beyond to really change how we teach, how we practice, and how we develop policy around archaeological practice in order to transform the field to be more responsive and ethical in the work that we do, in the relationships that we build. So we have a really vibrant community of scholars who do all kinds of really cool research. They're peppered throughout the program this week, and so you'll hopefully get to see one of them.
Are any of them here right now?
Are any of them here right now? Yeah, I've got some current and former IPIA folks in the room.
And I'm going to benefit from the IPIA in my own research. So I have a big thanks to the Indigenous and Prairie Archaeology Institute. So that's there's some equipment coming out to New Brunswick actually. So there is the tie-in. There's always a tie-in to the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast.
It's true.
Sure.
Yeah. So your presentation at the CAA this year, though, is about the IPIA's Guide to Good Relations. And so can you give us a quick preview of what that is and how it's changing archaeological practice?
You bet. So the Guide to Good Relations is a document that we co-developed at the Institute of Prairie and Indigenous Archaeology with our scholars. It emerged first from developing principles of community. And this is a practice I've been doing now for a number of years, where any new group of people I'm working with, it could be a class, it can be a research project, or in this case, the Institute, we get together and we start from a place of shared values. We collectively define what those values are, and those form the foundation for how we want to be with one another in the work that we're doing. The idea here is to start from a place of how we want to be, rather than like a code of conduct, which is don't do these things. This is what we want to do together and how we come together. So it talks about things like respect and mindfulness, accountability, trust, all of those sort of core values. So we had developed these principles of community a number of years ago, but The real challenge with these sorts of things is when the rubber hits the road. So you can have all the values you want, but what does that actually mean when you come into conflict or something's not going the way you want it to? So the Guide to Good Relations is really our attempt to take those principles and broaden them into what they mean in practice. So we talk about how we develop the principles, what they mean. We talk about accountability mechanisms and conflict resolution. We talk about how we collaborate, how we determine who's on a paper.
Yeah.
Is it authors, which author order? We talk about what happens when you join our community and when you leave our community and how that all works. So the guide is really our way of saying, this is how we want to do archaeology.
Yeah, that's terrific. And is it intended to be like across nations and sort of a broad overview to working with Indigenous communities, or is it really specific to Treaty 6 or?
So I would say that it's broad in terms of what it means for archaeology.
Yep.
I think that we don't necessarily define it in terms of the area that we're in. It's as much as how we're in community with one another as archaeologists,
right,
as including also how we work with community. So I think it has wide applicability. A big inspiration for us was Dr. Max Lebrun from the Clear Lab, who does amazing work around this as well. And we really want other people to take it up as a model. So you can find it on our website. If you come to the paper, you can have a QR code where you can just scan that and find the publicly available version of the Guide to Good Relations.
And in the show notes of this podcast.
We will put it in the show notes, yes. In addition to that, you chair the CAA working group on unmarked graves. Can you tell us about the important work that committee is engaged with?
I sure can. So as many of you know, almost 5 years ago now, this month, Tecumseh Secwepemc made an announcement about findings from ground-penetrating radar surveys at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. And of course, that became international news. Many of us who had been doing this work in some capacity already, because this work well predates that announcement, realized immediately that as the story grew, we were going to encounter a lot of challenges because people didn't know what ground penetrating radar did. They didn't really understand the context. There was all this attention and all this sort of rush to do something. And we were like, if this is going to happen, we need to make sure it's being done in the best possible way, because this is such a sensitive issue, very, very difficult. And it's also very scientifically difficult from an archaeological perspective to try to determine where unmarked graves are.
Yeah.
So a group of us came together under then President, CAA President Lisa Hodgetts, and we formed the working group as a response to our concern with what might happen. Right? So you've got people who have a GPR and use it for engineering, and they're like, we can find graves. And we're like, no, you can't. You don't know what you're doing. So
engineers can't even find culverts consistently.
They can. But guess what? Culverts, easy to, they should be easy to find. They should be.
Sorry, do I need to duck now, Ken? Someone just yelled. I'm not sure. Do we have any engineers in the audience? I didn't think so. No,
they're not admitting it if they are.
They don't have the chocolate projectal points yet, so we're safe.
Engineers aren't getting the chocolate projectile points.
Yeah, so you do realize if you give them out, then they can throw them back.
I know. That's why we got the hats.
That's right. Protection.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the working group really focused on creating best practice documents, much of which still sits on the CAA website. And we've been working together really ever since, and currently have a large grant through SHRP, a Reconciliation Network grant, to continue to advance the science, to help develop training and capacity building for community, and to really work on questions around data sovereignty and data management, because that's become a very huge issue as well.
Yeah, there's some great resources on there, like videos just basically kind of introducing concepts like magnetometry, GPR, and that kind of stuff that sharing with communities is really important to try to get like just a sense of what's going on.
Yeah, and shout out to Sarah Hazel, who's featured in a lot of those videos.
Okay, all right. So a lot of your work is focused on changing how archaeologists approach their work. You're also a professor. So what advice do you give to new archaeologists or archaeology students here in the room who might be engaging for the first time? How do they reach out? How do they collaborate? Like, what's the starting point other than the IPIA's A Guide to Good Relations? So
I think it's a great question. So one of the piece of advice I like to give to archaeologists, I mean, I often end up with people who contact me because they want to do archaeology differently, right? They want to do archaeology that matters to someone other than themselves just for an intellectual pursuit. They want it to matter to community. They want to have collaborators. I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give, though, is be realistic about what you can accomplish in an academic program that is time limited. So because Guide to Good Relations, you start with relationships first. Relationships take time. I believe there's a slow archaeology session tomorrow that's going to talk about that. But if you're coming in to say do a master's degree, you're not going to have the time to develop the relations. So work with a supervisor who has good relations and is not going to be looking to you to build from scratch, especially at the master's level. And then they can also train you and bring you into those relations so you can learn about how to be respectful, how to listen, and how to do work that matters to community, because you don't know what matters unless you listen. Unless you're paying attention. So that's a really important aspect of it. And then thinking about ways in which we can continue to advance archaeological methods to help in some of these very sensitive environments. So I've had many students want to come and help around residential schools. And I'm always really careful because you produce a master's thesis, you have to put data in your thesis. And it's the community's data. And if we want to actually respect sovereignty, then we need to be really careful about how we go about that. And when it comes to unmarked graves, none of my students, unless the community is super enthusiastic about including them, puts any of that information in the thesis. But we can do things to make the methods better. We can do things that will still help. So let's be strategic and think about what are the skill sets you can bring. Because you can't solve all the problems for all the people, but there are ways to contribute in any level of being an academic. So find the right supervisor, find the right program where you can learn about how to be a good relation before you take on building those relationships yourself.
That seems like great advice. And do we have any graduate students in the audience? You can raise your hand if you're a graduate student. Yeah. So I'd like to highlight something else that Kisha said about being a graduate student, and that she described the degree as time limited. You should remember that. That's important.
I have a good track record.
So I don't. So go work with Kisha.
Yeah. So
right, Robert? 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. Let's have a round of applause for Crawford for finishing in 2 years.
Yeah, there we go. So Kisha, you're a former Gary Copeland student.
I am.
We also found out that Gary Copeland is this year's recipient of the Smith-Windenberg Award. So, in the spirit of what is something that you bring forward in your work that came out of working with Gary as a grad student and now a colleague?
That's a great question. So I had the pleasure of working with Gary in my master's. It was a pretty short time. I did get done in a reasonable time.
It was time limited.
Time limited. But I first got to work with Gary in Prince Rupert Harbor. And he took me out. I got to work on the extremely famous boardwalk site for several weeks in the summer of, I'm not going to say. But one thing that really stuck with me about working with Gary, one is that we worked with community even then. This was over 20 years ago. And it also introduced me to the landscape and the place and the amazing archaeology of that part of the world. And then I've been working on and off there for the rest of my career. So Gary really was my introduction to that. And he also really encouraged me to think beyond what I had been reading in my master's, really to push the boundaries of the scholars and the thinkers that I was working on, and to really imagine beyond. And that really defines my entire career. I mean, if anything, if you had to sum up what Kisha Supernant does, I think beyond. I think beyond the boundaries of what archaeology has been to what it could be. And that matters to me a lot. And I can thank Gary for a large part of that as well.
It's Kisha, beyond the bounds, but within the time. That's right. And so Kisha, what are you excited about, or what do you recommend to do here in Canmore?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I mean, look around. Anytime you can, just look up and enjoy. For folks who've never been here before, the Rockies have such a special flavor about them. Every mountain range is different, and the Rockies have the majesty that we all want to enjoy. So the best thing I can say is get out of the hotel, don't go to every session, and get into nature. Yeah. And stay away from the wildlife. Yeah. Do not feed the bears. Generally good advice in life. And if you see a moose, run away, slowly.
And Kisha, you recommended skipping some sessions. Which would those be?
Not mine.
So Kisha, before we let you go, I think it's time for another prize draw.
Oh, hang on, I have a suggestion. Can I do, you asked about a name.
A name.
We did.
I have a suggestion for the name of the podcast.
Okay.
And I think it's a good one. I think, based on the wonderful email we got from the CAA President, you should change this to Archaeology Matters.
Oh.
Because it has two...
buffalo suits.
Yeah, we might need a whole new banner, Gabe.
Well, it also has a double meaning, because archaeology matters because it's important, but you also talk about archaeology matters.
There you go.
It works out.
I do love a Dublo entendre. Yeah.
We're putting that one in the running, everybody.
All right.
And but while we ponder that suggestion,
we have another prize to draw.
we have another prize.
Yeah. Hopefully, to avoid bias, this is not a University of Lethbridge person. So let's
Trevor Orchard.
And Ken, Trevor left.
He promised me he was going to stay for my part of the podcast.
I bet Trevor left to get a job at Lethbridge. All right, well, I guess Trevor's out of the running. So
is the other? Oh no. Okay, we'll set aside a chocolate projectile point for him
if he's lucky.
Kevin.
No pronghorn. And Ken, what is Kevin McGeough about to win?
The University of Lethbridge.
Ken's hero. Oh, there you go.
Ken's hero, Kevin.
Kisha, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And
Big applause for Kisha Supernant. All right, Gabe. So before we go to our next break, we've got lots of prizes tonight, and we want to keep this going, right?
Yep.
And we've already gotten one excellent suggestion for a new name for the podcast, right? But Gabe, as you know, I'm getting up in age, and I've always enjoyed a good flyer perusal, right? And there's something incredibly satisfying about finding a good deal each week. Now, the combination of this with our cat Pickle's fascination with shredding any exposed rolls that I've been eyeing up in bathroom tissue, I've been eyeing up bathroom tissue frequently, and I found this curious pattern.
No, Ken, I'm going to pause you just for a second. Can people hear Ken talking about his cat in the back?
Pickles?
Cats are very popular. Pickles, Ken's cat. Can we hear it for Pickles? All right.
So, Gabe, are you familiar with toilet paper math?
I am not.
Well, it's when you have a pack of 24 Scotties that actually equals 48, or 8 Bounty that's actually 16, or even 24.
I don't shop at Costco, Ken.
Yeah, even a Charmin pack that's 30, but really 90. But whether you're multiplying by factorials, plies, or sheet numbers, I think we can all agree that the math and the outcome is as specious as some Bayesian modeling that's being thrown around these days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Either way, it's the kind of creative fiction that marketers excel at. But that, if you used in compliance mitigation or site protection, you might find yourself in the news and hoping that your employer will buy that land and make it all go away. With that said, in the rather tumultuous state of the world these days, I think a little creative fiction is what we all need. That's why for the lucky listener that renames the New Brunswick Archaeology podcast, we have just the prize pack for you. What's on offer for the second time this fortnight is a prize package designed for the most creative in our audience. That's right, we've leveraged our growing influence in the media world to catch the attention and the time of Poet Laureate of Archaeology, Sir Peregrine Archibald Blanchflower. Now, Sir Perry will work with you and any of you lucky archaeologists to transform your dull technical reports and field notes into the kinds of prose that the regulator is sure to love.
Pros, not amateurs.
Yeah, and even if they don't love it, you'll be fairly certain whether they're actually reading your report or not.
All right.
Now, poetry takes time, so this is not just a single session, but part of a week-long retreat to be hosted in these very mountains at the famous Banff Center. That's right, listeners. You'll be tacking back and forth between prose and the posh, between the sauna and the stanza, and from coffee to cocktail. Time is of the...
Ready to be brandished. Okay, so we're going to list the beers here. Ken is going to list the beers.
Okay, so we're just going to do this by audience applause of Grizzly Paw beer. So we've got the Powder Hound Blonde Ale. How's everybody feeling about that one?
Okay, it's pretty popular.
Okay, all right. What about the Grumpy Bear Honey Wheat? Oh, very silent on that one. Okay.
Interesting.
Beaver Tail Raspberry Ale. That's a refreshing one on the nice days of the day. No? Okay. Tepid? Okay. What about the Running Elk Crab?
Okay. It's a Running Elk Crab.
Yeah. The Bighorn Nut Brown. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, that's the dance club next door too, isn't it?
I think it might be. Then we're getting into the Summit Series. We got the Rundle Stone Easy IPA.
Other students, colleagues, Skylar and Rex, actually came to us with a project idea. And Skylar and Rex are in biology, and so they understood the genetics, and we, as the archaeologists, pitched the actual research. And Matthew got the bones, and so they're the leads, and they're sitting right in front here.
That's fantastic. I can't see this, but Mavis and Matthew are sitting right in front of us. Can we hear it for Mavis and Matthew?
Yeah.
You've just won yourself an invite to the Grizzly Archaeology podcast at a later date. Yes, I know. So we'll get your email address at the end there. Members of the public have received you all work at Head Smashed In, and what does the field school begin?
So the field school begins on Thursday.
Oh, no? Wow. Bad life choices. That's a heck of a month.
So,
and what can the public do as well? So as of June 1st, okay, the public can visit us. We'll be there June 1st to 27th. So generally, if the weather is good, come down by the trail. We take like 8:30, 8 o'clock to 6. She would like to dig till 7, maybe around 5 o'clock from I start fighting. I want to go back to camp and feed the students. She wants us to keep digging the still sunlight, and she thinks the students are weak being meat. So then I hear, Kevin, is that you're sensitive to community requests. Exactly, I am. And they go, they're laughing, they know it's true. So I literally tell the students, start hauling the equipment away from her. We'll go lock the equipment up and take away all the tools so she can't do any more work.
I've seen this workflow in action, actually. That's
is that how your department meeting is?
Exactly, yeah. It's usually we just start walking out of the room. That's
So what are you excited for about CAA this year?
Apart from debating about culture and history.
That was the best part of the CAAs already. I can't be beaten. So a bunch of us love theory, and obviously I can't be beaten either. So a bunch of us love theory, and often a lot of theory sessions in the CAAs. So Gabe had a good theory session with a very provocative paper, and I know Ken's sitting in the back, so Jay and I right at the front, and he doesn't know this is coming, where Jay and I just like flipped out and yelling and excited, right? Like, oh, this is great, this is the best thing ever, which hopefully you enjoyed too. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was actually a pretty interesting discussion. It was really awesome.
Yeah, Gabe came out afterwards with this kind of like his armpits a little bit soggy, and he looks at me and goes, that went okay.
Ken's my cut man.
So, before we go, what are you guys excited about here in Canmore? You're both like from Southern Alberta. You've probably been here many times. What should we experience? What should anybody who hasn't been here before experience before the weekend's out?
Like Kisha said, it's new here, so actually get out, engage as our Indigenous
in the summer, people can stay close by areas that's going to be really cheap, especially for students. So that can be a really great venue for students to come and present.
Excellent.
The theme of the conference is going to be climate change, which is a big issue in PEI as well.
Yeah.
I know people want to talk about it today. So. Mostly coastal oil conservancy to monitor the erosion of all the numerous archaeologists that participate every year.
Terrific. And so thanks very much. Can we get a round of applause for anyone who's planning to go to PEI and for Christian Thériault?
I don't know, Gabe. I think the Indigenous Archaeology podcast can come back in Charlottetown, but with bigger speakers.
Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. And they can, before we leave you all, we've had a great night tonight. We hope you all have too. And we've got a lot of people we want to thank. We'd like to thank Katie, TJ, Kisha, Shawn, Kevin, and Christian. Woo!
We also want to thank our generous sponsors, including the CAA, the Archaeological Society of Alberta. And we want to thank all of the companies who donated stuff, which I'm going to flip through my notes here and make sure I get all of them. Yeah, we have the University of Lethbridge, Circle CRM, Stantec Consulting, and Atlatl.
Thank you to all those generous donors. We'd like to thank our producers, Emanuel and Cody. Yeah!
Archaeology podcast is brought to you every fortnight by the Association of Professional Archaeologists of New Brunswick. Funding and support is provided by Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council grant, University of New Brunswick and University of Lethbridge. Research by Gabe and Ken. Production is handled by audio engineer Emanuel and Cody. Video production by Cody Pie. Theme music is composed by Justin Hankey. Theme music remixed by Emanuel and Cody. And Hakuna Rada by Shane Dow. Find us on Instagram at new_Brunswick_archaeology, on LinkedIn, and on the web at newbrunswickarchaeology.com.